I think we can all admit that fighting games are the Dreamcast's bread and butter. They're the one genre that the system excelled at. It's pretty obvious too, as there are tons and tons of classic fighters on the system that are still being played to this very day. Problem is that Dreamcast owners want to get the very best out of their system. And as such, they tend to use the VGA adapter to bump up the resolution to glorious 640 by 480 progressive, or 480p as it's better known. And so you might be thinking, well, why is that a problem? Well, mainly because most fighters, well, actually, let's just say Capcom fighters, look extremely pixelated while in VGA mode because their native resolution is just so much lower than what is actually being displayed on screen. Guilty Gear X, or Guilty Gear 10, changed all of that. And that was a slight joke. This is not Guilty Gear 10. Anyways, it really did mix things up because it was like one of the first big fighters that was actually designed with 480p in mind. And as a result, it's, well, the very best looking 2D fighter on the Sega Dreamcast. And I'd go as far as saying, and I think all of you will agree, that is actually the nicest looking 2D video game ever created up until that point in time. Arc System Works showed Capcom up, and honestly, no one saw that coming. So I don't think it's too surprising to say that the graphics were, and still are, the biggest highlight of Guilty Gear X. People don't realize just how huge of a leap forward this game was when it came out. With an equipped VGA adapter, the colors were crisper, sharper, and more stunning than any other 2D game before it. Animation, special effects like the rain for example, even small little details like the leaves blowing in the wind were just a real sight to behold back in 2000. Fast forward 13 years and the game remains impressive, and it holds up far better than any other 2D fighter on the Dreamcast does, again while using the VGA adapter. The sense of style is also fantastic. About the only downside to the visual presentation is that when characters are too far from one another, the backgrounds scale back, and this causes some minor distortion. But honestly, that's a very minor complaint compared to everything else. The fighting system is also really simple and easy to get into. With only 4 buttons, you've got a punch, kick, slash, and heavy slash. New players to the genre really don't have anything to worry about. They can just jump right into the thick of things. Cycling through combos is much easier than in most other fighters, and overall this just isn't as technical as a lot of the other fighters released at the time, and that allows players to, feel that they're actually better in the game than they truly are. Err Juggling is featured, and simple combo strings are really easy to put together. There are super moves which require the use of the tension gauge. That's that thing you see on the bottom of the screen there. And there's even an instant death move, which can actually be pretty damn hard to land. More advanced techniques include aerial attacks that work similar to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where you basically blast in the air and you can just air juggle your opponent, then fly to the other side of them and continue to pull off an impressive combo. It's really a sight to behold. There's also a robust cancel system in place once you get used to the general mechanics. And just to show you how easy this is to pick up and play, I recorded this footage over the Thanksgiving Day holiday. This is here in Canada, and I had one of my relatives play the game who had never played this fighting game before, so keep that in mind. The movesets are all somewhat limited compared to other fighters, But that allows you to easily memorize all your favorite characters. And when was the last time you could actually do that in a modern day fighting game? Yeah, it's been a while, right? And this encourages players to actually, experiment, mix things up, and try some of the more advanced techniques. The rocking soundtrack that you can hear in the background is also one of the things that I absolutely love. But I guess it could be one of your biggest pet peeves if you're not really into rock and roll or heavy metal or any of that jazz. But if that's the case, what's wrong with you? There are a couple of things that people in 2013, or whenever you're listening to this review, might find a little bit iffy, and that, as always with fighting games at this time period, is typically with the gameplay modes. All you have available are your typical arcade versus training and survival modes. That's pretty much it. There's a unique recording mode which allows you to save some of your best moves to the VMU, although I found its use is kind of limiting. And about the only real true downfall that someone can really, say about Guilty Gear X has to be the fact that it really does play it safe. This is a safe fighter. It doesn't really try to do too many new things, it doesn't push boundaries or break down walls, and you know what, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because it is a very fun game. Guilty Gear X will forever be remembered for its incredible graphics, tight gameplay, and rocking soundtrack. Sure, it's not the most technical fighter ever released, but as I just said, it remains fun to play, and that counts for everything in my book. There's a lot of other things I could have talked about. I could have spoken about the crazy cast of characters and how everyone feels really unique. I could have gone on and talked more about the backgrounds, but you know what? I think you guys get the idea. The Dreamcast version was only released in Japan, but if you go on eBay or other sites like DreamcastGaga.com, you can pick it up for really, really cheap. There's also a localized PlayStation 2 port of Guilty Gear X, which might be easier to find, but based on a quick look at eBay, both are about the same price. Whatever you decide to do, this is one to certainly pick up. Be sure to check out ProjectCoe.com for the full written review.